here. As Ebenezer said, my name is Katrina Drayton. I work at the U.S. Consulate here in Lagos, and I'm going to keep this very short and sweet. My good governance team asked me to speak a little bit about CYFI and then about their project that they're implementing. So as Ebenezer said earlier, CYFI, the Carrington Youth Fellowship Initiative, is a program that is sponsored by the U.S. Consulate General here in Lagos. The goal of the program is to basically bring together highly talented, motivated, upstanding youth in Nigeria, bring them together and allow them to develop and implement service projects, youth engagement projects for their communities over the period of the fellowship, which is about a year. So each year we get the fellows, we divide them into teams focused on different sectors of society, such as health, education, good governance, economic empowerment. And the teams come up with a project and come up with a budget, come up with a schedule, all of these things, and they implement the project over the course of the year. And so I'm part of the CYFI board. We have several other board members, and each board member has a team that they engage with throughout the year. So this year, my team is the Good Governance team, which is why I'm here. And I'm very excited about their project. The Thai Nigeria project, as Ebenezer said a little bit earlier, is focusing on youth engagement, specifically in the upcoming elections. We all know that the 2015 elections are going to be very important for Nigeria, so I think this is a great project to encourage youth to participate, to care about good governance here in Nigeria, to get involved in the upcoming elections and know that their votes are important. So again, I'm very excited to be here, and if any of you who are here have any more questions about CYFI, feel free to talk to me or to talk to any of the team members, and they can put you in touch with me. So thank you, and I hope we all enjoy the session today and all of our discussions.
All right, thank you very much. I would like to introduce my team members that we from the Good Governance team. I'd like to start with Ms. Eyewu, who is standing right there. She's one of the members. I am also one of the members, Ebenezer. Also, we have Oluwaseun Jegede, who is unavoidably absent. And we also have, of course, Mr. Eyitayo Ogunmola. I'm going to be inviting him up here. He's going to talk more on Thai Nigeria. You and I would agree with me that when we talk about the issue of good governance, it is very, very broad. So it's going to, for this year, like Katrina said, we're going to be focusing on the 2015 general elections. So I'm bringing up Eyitayo to tell us more about the Thai Nigeria project. So please let's welcome Eyitayo Ogunmola.
Okay, my name is not Eyitayo, my name is Eyitayo. My name is Eyitayo Ogunmola, that's my name. I'm a Nigerian and also a Lagosian. And I just want to talk about what we're trying to do. Thai Nigeria is an initiative of the U.S. Consulate, but the fellowship program of the U.S. Consulate that we call the Carrington Youth Fellowship of the U.S. Consulate. And so many guys have been asking me questions about the Carrington Youth Fellowship. We are not the Young African Leadership Initiative. We are not the YALI Initiative fellows. We are the Carrington Fellows. I think we are so privileged to have one of the YALI Fellows among us as one of our guests. But when we get to the bridge, we cross it. There's a difference between the YALI Fellowship and also the Carrington Youth Fellowship. So we are supposed to do a project for 1 year in Nigeria, fully sponsored by the U.S. Consulate Lagos. I think we should put our hands together for the U.S. Consulate Lagos. Our major focus is to see how to engage younger people on the subject of good governance, and strategically we're looking at the subject of 2015 election as a case study. We are supposed to engage young people and also inform them on what an average young Nigerian needs to know about this country called Nigeria. So what we're trying to do is to engage younger generations. We have lots of people on the social media at the moment tweeting about what we are doing in this small room. on Facebook also discussing what we're doing, on Twitter discussing what we're doing. At the end of this whole project, we're going to be having our videos of this event and also the pictures of this event uploaded on YouTube and some other strategic media platforms. What are we trying to achieve? We're trying to engage young people and also trying to involve them, informing them about the subject of good governance, what we all need to know, what our local government budget is, who is the governor of Lagos State, who are the guys working with him, everything you need to know about your country, Nigeria. That is what we stand to do. We also asked one of our guests among us who is supposed to help us connect the budget of the country with young people so that we can get to know every penny spent by our government. And I'm a bit excited that we're trying to save the country in our own little way by just engaging younger people and also informing them. So at the end of today's event, what we're trying to achieve is to try to have a consultative forum where young people can sit down together on a roundtable discussion and discuss how to participate in the government of the country. I want to be a part of the government of my country, but the question is, how do I get to be a part of it? From the election to the involvement in government itself, and some other space, some other dimensions of involving young people in government. So by the end of this whole project, we're going to be coming up with policies that we can advocate for in our own little way, policies that we can push, that we can discuss, even if we don't have an opportunity to sit down with the government of Nigeria, policies that we can, in our own little way, discuss on social platform, and we hope that these big individuals and these guests that we have among us, we also have an opportunity to also help us push some of the things that young people are discussing. So feel free to discuss the subject of good governance here. And I'm not totally sure we have rules here, so there are no rules. You could talk about whatever you want to talk about. Let's just talk about Nigeria, it's our country, and no one is going to arrest anybody, no one is going to hold you back. Just talk about your country, Nigeria. Happy independence to us all. Thank you so much.
Okay, taking a seat right there is Mrs. Ijeoma Oke. She's the head of Department, Voter Education, Publicity, Gender and CSO of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Lagos. A round of applause for her. And she's representing Dr. Okumola, that's the State Electoral Commissioner. Now, we're actually in for a good time right here today. I do also. The faces I see in this room tells me there's so much we'll definitely discuss. The resolutions will be quite interesting, and Nigeria will definitely be better off for this. Now, before we get our focus into the 2015 election, I think it would be okay for us to look back at the 2011 election and then move on till this point, 2014, and then I was to say what exactly we should be expecting for the 2015 election. Well, and also, all right, please welcome with me Professor Bolaji Owason. Is the Executive Director of HDI, is majorly our host for today. Round of applause, please. Thank you very much for joining us today. Yeah. Only temporarily. Okay, we'll definitely bring you on board at some point. Now, the issue, hello? Are we all together? All right. 2011 election was quite fantastic for me. That's my own personal opinion. But I know some of us observed the election, some of us had our vote cast, and some of us also view it from the comfort of our bedrooms on the television and say, the boy who cast voted, and look at it, it was warm and all of that. But it's necessary for us to actually get a retrospective view of what happened in 2011 from the youth perspective, and thereafter know where we are now so we can actually project towards 2015. So in a very short while, I will also pass the mic around so we can have the opinions being resonated right here. But just before that, it will also be proper for us to set ground rules so we know what we may have made in the course of this discussion. So before we go on, can we have someone to jot something down for us there? Okay. What should be the ground rules? The process of engagement. So if I have an opinion and someone else is speaking, how should I conclude? What should be the period of discussion? Can we have all of this within the next 3 minutes?
Thank you. I believe everybody should have 2 minutes to state their opinion. And if you're going to respond to another opinion, you should have just 1 minute.
Okay. Still hold them to the mic. Is that noted? Please pass the mic around. Just give me one round rule so we can actually move it on. Next person.
I think if you have to express an opinion, irrespective of what is being said, you need to keep your hand up.
Okay. Until the moderator says go. All right, fantastic. Any other person? Round rule?
I think it's important that we keep our opinions civil, we should be polite, we should respect every other person's opinion, because everyone is entitled to one.
Okay, fantastic. Nobody said anything about phone calls, mobile phones. You know, we can all be here and not actually get connected. Everyone is pinging away or tweeting away. How about that? What should be the rule for that? Okay.
I think we should put our phones on silent. And if you think you have an identical vibration.
Okay. All right. So Ebenezer, are these rules noted? Sure. Can we have them up on the flip charts or something so everyone can be acquainted? All right. Thank you very much. Let's get into the discussion right now. 2011 election is where we started from, so we know what happened. Here we are now, and what should be the focus for 2015. Anyone has opinion about 2011 election? From your own perspective, how did it go? Did you participate in the election? Let's start from there. Yeah. So, I'll move the mic around. Please, let's make this very engaging, express your mind. A lot of young people, 2011 election.
For me, 2011 election was a period when a lot of Nigerians looked forward to. It was away from the convention in the sense that elections people thought was going to be won, especially in the southwestern part of the country, that people were going to get back into office based on incumbency. Did not play out that way. We found out that Nigerians were actually looking out for individuals that thrived in their private lives and want to come into the public space and make a lot of difference. Nigerians were actually looking forward to that. Nigerians were also looking for young, vibrant Nigerians that wanted to really make a difference. So you found a sequence that was quite unusual, where people just vote based on political party. You know, people were now looking a little more closely at the candidates. Though I registered in Lagos, but unfortunately I was in Port Harcourt at that time, so I couldn't vote myself. But I observed a few things which was interesting.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, while he was speaking, I did note a point. He stated that it was a year that almost all the young people in Nigeria looked out for. What made it so special? Why did they look out for it? We had election in 2003, we had election in 2007. What made 2011 a shift from the normal electoral status?
My name is Nyan once again. I think one of the reasons was we had, if I stand to be corrected, we had a new INEC chairman, that's Yaba. So I think he showed some sense of dignity and integrity. So I believe that was one of the major reasons why youths of 3 years ago were in the, how do I put it now? They were willing to go to vote. But I will come from this area. I think if, I'm also stand to be corrected, if I'm wrong, we had some issues, I think in 2011, where coppers were dying, we had some riots, because I did not vote because, I mean, I was very young then. I cannot kill myself. When you have people killing them, you want me to come and die again? No, I cannot die for Nigeria again. But I believe that things are getting better. So I believe I did not vote because the environment was not conducive. That's just the truth. I could not go and vote. Even though we were told to vote, we were told to do some certain things, go and learn how to the basics. But one of the reasons why I did not vote in 2011 was because the environment was not conducive. We just had several riots and people were dying. So I believe this 2015, by God's grace, because we had several things in 2011. Now we are hearing different things again in 2015. I believe by the grace of God, things will come out better. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. All right, so let's still have about one or two 2011 election.
My name is IwayaRoad. I believe why youth was able to participate more in the 2011 election was because of the level of awareness. The level of awareness then was a bit top notch to the previous 2009, and because people became more aware, especially youth became more aware that what we needed for our people who we elected into position, what we needed from them was different from what they used to tell us, and we were more aware to the fact that what we need are actually what these people are telling us. I believe that was why, because for me personally, why I voted then was because I heard some things and I believed then that this would come into place. Then for 2015, that's coming up. I believe.
No, let's not go there yet. Okay, sorry. Let's finish 2011. All right, okay, coming from this end. Less than 2 minutes.
My name is Onike. I believe why we had the shift was there was no social platform engagement. I go on my Twitter, I see somebody's word that is not concerning me. Now I'm putting, like the Osun State that happened recently. I was monitoring it from my home, and I got, because I'm an indigenous of Osun State, so I got every word, even before the midnight when the electoral people started collating. I made sure I collated everything I had on my Twitter. Then I was trying to synchronize it in the midnight with what the electoral chairman of Osun State was doing. So I saw that there was starting from.
Did you also monitor the 2011 election on your smartphone?
My smartphone, I didn't have a smartphone then.
Back then, very interesting. All right, so here we go.
All right, for me, I think I was more involved because I think I was a polling clerk. I conducted elections as first clerk. So I saw the tenacity of Nigerians wanting to see their vote count. So I was part of it, and I did counting. I had to count manually. It wasn't a joke. If you miss one, you're ready to stone you. So I saw the audacity of hope in them, and I believe going forward that 2015 will be better.
All right, thank you very much. That would be okay. No. All right, that would be a wrap. Now let me turn to the table here, and let me begin to your comments from when you the SSA back then, 2011. No, okay. So apparently it was the election that actually brought the administration here. Let me turn to Onike. What do you think made the 2011 election so remarkable from the youth perspective? And tell us the demographic, the number, the youth population actually participated so well in 2011.
Thank you very much. So many things went right in the 2011 elections because when the new commission came on board in 2010, they decided to conduct a study, and part of the study was to find out why former elections went wrong and how they can actually make things better. And they came up with so many policies, so many positive policies. One of the ones that I very much admire is giving integrity to the electoral body by involving the electorals of tertiary institutions to be field officers. That actually gave the election the integrity deserves. Like, you see the VC of a university announcing a result. It's not like somebody you don't know or just pick somebody from anywhere and begin to pick, talk about elections, really give the elections the integrity it deserves. And also the youth. You know, the youth commission actually had confidence in the youth and use the potentials we have in the youth. Before now, we were using civil servants as school officials, and we find that loyalty, you know, to the government and the state. And then the youth commission came up and said, no, we are going to use corpers. And, you know, with the discipline and the zeal and the stubbornness of the youth and intelligence, you know, also what we have in technology now, they were able to fit in and they did marvelously well. The youth didn't disappoint the commission, and in fact it led to a further relationship that we now have MOU with the youth corpus. We didn't just use the youth corpus alone, we used the final year students of federal tertiary institutions, and they did very well because I mean you are not paying their school fees. They didn't have any reason to bend results for anybody. So the youth really made us proud and gave the country what they needed. Thank you.
All right, now to Engineer Mike. Let's have a place.
Good morning, everybody. Yes, I'll pick a bit from what Nnamdi and Sheyi said, and then add mine, to it. Sheyi talked about Nnamdi talked about Jega and all of that. Now, I will say this: I don't belong to any political party yet. I don't have any godfather or anybody. This might sound controversial, but I will speak very objectively on one of the critical success factors of 2011 elections, and that has to do with the head. Previously, we have known in Africa generally that incumbency will always win. Whether you like it or not, the president, the governor goes his way and make sure that his party wins. But we saw a little shift to that in the presidential, in the leadership of Goodluck Jonathan. He allowed INEC to have some sense of, I don't know, totally or partially. They had their own sense of, autonomy. I mean, going back many elections, many years back and all of that, where the president would press the buttons and say, this is the person I want to win an election in this state, in this place, in that place. But, I mean, owing credence to that, Humphrey Nwosu, many years after the June 12th election, came one day and read out the election results of June 12th that Abiola actually won. He was INEC chairman then, but he said something contrary to what the truth was. Okay? But here we see a shift in that. I mean, looking at what happened in Ekiti, looking at what happened in Osun, PDP won in Ekiti, APC won in Osun. So we're beginning to see that really incumbency. Actually, what you said was that the power of incumbency was not really there. PDP was in charge before, but all of a sudden we now saw how APC or ACN swept through the southwest. So I want to say one of the critical factors that is helping our elections today is that the presidency is kind of allowing INEC, I don't know if you agree or disagree, is allowing INEC to have a sense of autonomy. The professors of this world are the ones now that are in charge, residents, electoral officers, and all of. Before it was military men. One of my friend's father was the electoral officer of one of the states. Then, so the president will just give a call, I want this, I want that. And that's what INEC will do. But I want us to appreciate President Jonathan. Like I've said, I don't know him from Adam. So I'm not campaigning for him. I'm not saying anything for or against anybody, but I'm just speaking objectively. Now, one of the successes of our elections going forward has been President Goodluck Jonathan.
And that's the autonomy which he has
given to INEC.
All right, Mr. Lara, let's take a comment.
Sorry, I think
from a youth perspective, what made the 2011 election success or the way?
From the youth perspective, I mean, are we just going to be talking about success now, or we're talking about the issues with the youth participation? Because not necessarily the youth made it a success. And then we need to also put it in context. Are we saying 2011 is also a success? So that is one thing that we have not answered. I think it's very crucial for us to actually review within ourselves. Do we want to admit 2011 was a success or a failure? Then, what was the contribution of the youth towards the success? What was also the inactiveness of the young people that resulted in failure, or even their contribution to the failure? I think that is probably what would be my own approach to it, than just talking about it. But if you want to ask me, I think what happened in 2011 is clearly what everybody can admit. It's a clear departure from what has been the previous experience, especially between 2003, 2007, and then we get into 2011. But when you look at even 1999 election and compare with what you have in 2011, you won't be talking about success. It can only be compared with 2003 and 2007, and then you will see there's been a measure of some success in terms of the 2011 election. And I would also want to beg to differ from the last speaker that the so-called success that we see with the 2011 is not attributable to President Goodluck Jonathan. It is actually more attributable to Nigerians, and that is where you can say the youth comes in terms of the mileage that was covered. And basically, I would tell you that the whole essence about what INEC did was not basically that the usual choice of picking the chairmanship of INEC was just left to the political parties. It was as a result of the pressure and advocacy from Nigerians that the former chairman, Iwu, would have to leave. And it became a credibility issue that the leadership of the country could not depart from. It became the only template for which the government can show a measure of neutrality towards the election. And it is not within the wings and caprices of the president. So that we need to understand. It even go beyond the Nigerian advocacy, even to the international communities have to weigh in. And if you know very well, even when the current president came into office, it wasn't part of his first move to remove the chairman of the INEC. It took a whole long time. And also, we should also give credit where it is due. One of the first person who laid the foundation for electoral reform in Nigeria was the late President Musa Yar'Adua, who at the point of his swearing had admitted that the election that brought him into office was flawed. And that brought about the setting of the Electoral Reform Committee chaired by Justice Mohammed Owais. So I think this is very important.
Let's have a comment.
Well, for me, I'm going to be a bit but I cannot disagree with what you said and also said, there's a lot of factors that contributed to the success of the 2011 election. Firstly, I agree with that President Jonathan did, give some sort of autonomy to the INEC to be able to run the election free and fair. But I also add that it was also the enlightenment of the Nigerian populace, that contributed to us going to the polls and, voting for who we actually wanted. And we saw a change in the Southwest, especially where APC won in a lot of states. And that's because a lot of young people, millennials as we call ourselves, were able to participate in the election through the use of social media. We were more enlightened, everybody was routing for Governor Fashola in Lagos, for example. And I think that swept across the whole Southwest, saying, well, APC has done very well in Lagos and can do very well in the Southwest states. So it was the enlightenment of the people that led to us demanding, saying we want our election to be free and fair. That's another case in point. Also, I will also add that for 2011, a lot of changes, like he said, President Yar'Adua, laid the foundation for a reform in the electoral commission. over the past years, in 1999, 2003, and 2007, the president maybe one way or another because they want overwhelming majority, they've been influencing these things. I think that the key change is the personality and the leadership that was shown. If we have leaders that say, okay, you know what, the whole world is looking at this is the time for us to make change. That is when we can have a free and credible election. And I think that was the key thing. So I would have to agree with you.
Professor, let's have a comment.
It's an advantage when you are speaking last. You can just agree with what everybody has said and let it go. But let me congratulate all of you. The future belongs to you. If you stand away from it, it will be the kind of future that you want. If you engage it, you can actually shape it to what you want it to be. So, I take it that this event is all about that. Secondly, the people who change the world are never a crowd. The multitude never agree on anything. There's only few people who change the world. So if those of you who are here choose to be the agents of change by the fact that you have information and you act on it, then you are already shaping the future that you want. Third point about how the youth and what role did the youth play in 2011. I think that the use of social media, and when I aggregate all the views that have been made, I think we should understand something. When you're a leader, you can act in impunity if you can hide what you want to do and nobody will know that you are doing it. But if whatever you are doing already the people know, you will think twice before you do it. So what does that mean? Okay, the gentleman there gives credit to Jonathan for allowing free and fair election. Did he have a choice? If the gentleman from Osun State who was monitoring the elections and collating, when there's that capacity and when you want to read, you must adopt a different method. So when you know that you cannot read because there's cell phone, as the vote is being counted in this polling unit, is all over the world, is on Twitter, is on Facebook, you cannot read through that means. You use some other means. Now, people who are observing will interpret it in different ways. The leader allowed the result. But you could also ask the question, did the leader have a choice? That's point one. So the youth, because technology is for the youth, they know how to engage it, they use it very, very effectively. And when you compare what happened in the South with the North, well, the use of technology is much more predominant in the South. Okay? You can begin to disaggregate and tell yourself whether or not the same impact you had in the South happened in the North, where there's a lot more lukewarmness and people stand aloof from technology and the engagement. So you could say the status quo was actually maintained. So one of the things that we need to be doing as young people is to reach out across to our colleagues to use the same measure with which you win your freedom that they must learn to engage in. Because if you take the remotest part of it, there is no part of the country virtually now where there is no signal. We've done some research. We know that for a fact. And if you engage with young people and say, just monitor the area and put, if somebody in the remotest part of Sokoto is putting what is happening in the polling booth in Twitter, and they don't even know who it is, the person who wants to read will think twice. Okay, one of the reasons, because after this I'm doing, one of the reasons June 12th could not be fully truncated was because Abiola was chairman of RC, Radio Communications Nigeria, and ITT vice president. He gave, at that time, as expensive as mobile phones were, he gave a mobile phone to all his agents all over the country. As the votes were being counted and results announced in each unit, they put it out there. So it was impossible to cover up the results. Before that time, they could have said he lost and he even wouldn't be able to dispute it. But all his agents had phones. And as soon as the result was announced there, he had collated, and INEC did not disagree with Onike. Was Babangida who eventually said he can't announce this result, and he froze it. So I'm trying to tell you the power of technology, okay, is the power of the future, and it's the power in your hands. So the youth actually made a very significant
In fact, at the moment, you have about 60, more than 65% of Nigerians are young people, and more than 40% of them are in the north. That leads us to the next question. What we are actually passionate about as Thai Nigeria is to engage lots of young people, especially those who are going to the pool to make decisions. What are your recommendations? Because I come to understand that HDR has done lots of things, especially in the north. What are your recommendations? What do you think we can do to still bring more younger people in the north to make critical decisions on the election day?
My quick response is that you've got to collaborate with like-minded people. I think one of the things you have to recognize are some of the cultural differences. You see, in the north, people tend to just flow with whatever the establishment or even when they are young people, except to begin to challenge their thinking. In the south, there's a whole measure of independence of thought. In the way we socialize children, in the way the community allows you. In the newspaper, you can abuse anybody. I mean, Suraj has challenged that Jonathan, every day we do it on the paper, nobody will. In the north, it doesn't happen as often. So you've got to engage and work with advocates to think beyond myself, the now, and to think for the future. And to encourage them to speak their mind. Not for people to just say, oh, because this person is queuing up on this side. That's part of our experience in northern Nigeria. And I can tell you for a fact that if you want to see radical differences in results, make sure that it is not possible to manipulate it. And if it is manipulated, you can always challenge it with more credible results. Like this young man, if there are plenty of himself in every local government, every poll, somebody here said, just tweet the result. You know, when somebody is reading something, they know that their election has no credibility. From day one, they've been trying to defend that position. It's not worth it. And it distracts from governance. They will never perform. People will know that they have no reason to be there because they cheated. The next election, you have to use another way to. And the Southwest has proved it. In Ekiti, PDP won. In Osun, they lost. In Ondo State, LP won. You are beginning to see a pattern. You're beginning to see. So, whether Jonathan likes it or not, I'm saying the mood of the moment and the technology that is available to us and that you have in your hand, use it well. So if Jonathan wants to read, he must adopt some other measure. Thank you.
All right, just before Prof leaves, any more question for you? Okay, one question.
Well done, sir. My question goes thus. Now that we have INEC ready to give us credible elections, and I happen to come from a rural area.
In Lagos,
Ogun State. Precisely Mowi. Yeah. And it's so unfortunate that the young people there and the community there is suffering. And our government keep telling us here in Mowi that we are not on the map. And fortunately for us, our road is bad. And they are now fixing it. Last year, as a learned person and a social entrepreneur, I told some of my youth that we were together, I said, do you know that this road project will not complete until 2015? They said, no, this government is going to do it. I said, no, they will actually come back to use this to campaign. Right now, the road has been abandoned. Okay. Now, sir, I want to ask a question. Why do our government, who does ransom, start a project, they wouldn't finish? We voted them, they are working, but they wouldn't finish just because they want another fourth thing. God bless you.
Right. The truth of the matter is that people you elect into office, if you don't hold them to account, there's no, some of you here, with your age now, as young as you are, if you become the governor of Lagos State, if we don't monitor you well, you will misbehave, and yet you are young. Because power in the hands of any man is prone to abuse and misuse. Now, one of the things that we did in order to get you young people, because we studied you for a while, you prefer to follow Tiwa Savage than to follow your local government chairman. You prefer to follow Dibanj or what's the name of Don Jazzy, okay, than to follow Jonathan. So we said, okay, we developed an application local government act, to say this kind of thing he said, the road is bad. On paper, that road has been completed. On paper. In the memo between the local government, the state house of assembly and the governor, the road is done. But you that are living in Owe, you know the road has damaged many vehicles and people are now walking. So what you need to do is to use this technology in your hands to put the truth in the public domain. Good. So you have to then engage and follow up. Find out the number of somebody in the House of Assembly, some commissioner. They won't reply you, but they are embarrassed. They know that what they think they are keeping quiet is already known. That's the way to do. You don't have to travel to the House of Assembly in Okemoson, wherever that place is. You don't need to do so. But you get somebody's name, then they are doing one phone program one day, they are there lying to themselves, you get the number, you call them, say, Commissioner, you are lying. No. This road, they can't reach you. That road will be fixed within a week. Now, I'll give you one example. I live towards Aja. When I'm coming to work, sometimes I'm on the road for 2 hours. And then when I get to the spot, it's a pothole. All the people I know in government get an SMS that morning. They will get it every morning within a week. Somebody will patch. They never reply me. They never reply me. And it's not because they are my friend that I get their numbers. Sometimes I sit in the newspaper, sometimes I just write those things down. In my office, there's something where we have the numbers of all the local government chairmen in Lagos State. So I will just text all of them, 15 naira, that's what it costs me. And then I hold my peace. Somebody goes and fixes the road. That's what you can do. You see, you don't win until you carry placard, you abuse somebody, do a riot. You win with the power of intelligence. You know, when you want to beat an idea, you don't have a better idea, you are the fool. You can't win. You must have a better idea. So what I keep saying is that leaders will continue to do what they are doing so long as they think the truth is hidden. Once you expose the truth, you expose the truth. Jonathan was happy to go to UN last week or whatever because we had a plus on Ebola. Okay? But before he gets there, with youths all over the world, you can put the truth out there. So people will challenge it. And that kind of embarrassment, you'll be surprised at how much mileage that it gets. So that's what you need to do to secure the kind of future that you deserve. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor. Just before Professor leaves the game, any more intervention? No more intervention. Okay, all right. Please, a round of applause for Professor Bola. He's the Executive Director of Thank you very much, Professor.
I should tell you that Frank has a lot of experience monitoring elections all over West Africa. People let you go.
All right, now just before, as Professor walks out, let me remind those of you just coming in that we have some ground rules. Ebenezer, could you please help us with the ground rules? Thank you very much for coming on the stage. We do know Lagos is usually empty for the traffic after the independence celebration. But of course, the ground rules are already set. You definitely see them. And for those of you on Twitter as well as on Facebook, you can actually get the conversation out there. The hashtag is TIE Nigeria. TIE, all in caps. The N also in caps, and then every other thing goes on in lowercase. All right. Please, let's adhere to the ground rules, and that would just be fantastic. Now, let's ask ourselves a question. So, what changes if I decide as a young person to get involved in electoral issues, governance issues in Nigeria? Would anything change? Young people, this is our time to talk. What impact would my participation make if I get on with the electoral process and the governance process in Nigeria? If you as a young person get involved in electoral issues, in governance issues, what impact will it make on the Nigerian society? Ladies.
Thank you very much. I'm Chamaka. If I'm involved in any of the electoral processes for upcoming election, I'll make sure that everybody's votes count, and also make sure that the election doesn't just go anyhow. It should be free and fair, and to be able to get the accurate results.
Okay, let's keep this in focus. How would you do that? Okay, someone wants to help you. Well, I would really love to get your comment. Maybe not now. Please pass the mic across. How? Let's be practically as young people.
as a young person, I've heard us talk about change, and now it is time to act. Now we want to say, the lady said she will do this. How will we do it? So many of us know what to do, but we don't know how to do. Now, the election thing, first of all, free and fair election. INEC is already doing that. I get my hands off free and fair election because INEC is already doing it. Now, it's more of getting used to
this. Let me interject. Is the quest for a free and fair election INEC's responsibility alone?
No. It's for us. Now, it is now youth engagement, because according to the statistics, they said only 30% of youth voted last election. Now, what are the remaining 70% of our youth doing? Now, it is now to us to get them involved so that they can vote and let their votes count. Because actually, if these 70% have voted, maybe the person who won would have won with a larger numbers, or maybe another person would have won on a slim note. So now, I think another thing I would like to do is power supply. Power supply. Use alternative power supply rather than what we have been doing. I read something on Guardian 3 years back. A Nigerian professor in the US actually prefer a solution to Nigeria power supply. And I've read it is on my blog site. And it's very interesting. And I'm still going to reblog it so that people can see it. I think power supply is one of the critical things we need to get done in our country.
Okay, all right, let's give it a bit to here.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Onike. Well, as a young person, being a citizen, I think there are essentially two things I can do. One, in terms of my right to vote, and number two is sensitization. I'll give you an instance. Recently, I got a PC from someone giving a detailed analysis of the salaries of our politicians, basically, essentially the lawmakers. And I sent this PC again to all of my contacts. And I made a comment as a follow-up that, yeah, we're talking about PDP, APC, and all of that. Okay, PDP isn't doing well. What parties are better alternatives to it? But you still have reps of other political parties which we consider as favorable alternatives in the House, and none of them are really moving motions about, okay, reduction of salaries of lawmakers and all of that. But yet, they tell us that, okay, we are a better alternative to the ruling government. Yeah, what's the point I'm making? I think as a young person, there is a critical role we can play is sensitization. The only reason why President Jonathan had to see to it that the 2011 election was relatively credible was because there were clamor from several quarters of the country. Apparently, if there were no significant clamors which would have attracted international interest and all of that, the government would just have been nonchalant like they've always been. So, and in terms of voting, I mean, voting objectively, I'm not voting because someone is filling your tummy and on the election day or because someone is giving you 2,000 or stuff like that. So I think there are two, sensitization and voting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that first and foremost, I'm going to deviate a bit, and to my mind, there is a misconception, even among educated youths, that participation in government is limited to traditional roles. So to participate in government, I have to be the governor or a local government chairman or just a member of some institution. But I think that participation in government, especially for the youth, is more fundamental than that. I'll give you an example. in Lagos State, for example, Lagos State started to have established a lot of free education and has gone a long way in establishing the importance of education for the young people and the youth. But there is this group of young people called the Destiny Trust, and they have identified, even though they are not traditionally in government, they have identified that even though Lagos State is supposed to have a high level of education, really, the people that need the education, the street children, the impoverished community, really do not have access to this education that we speak of. So yes, while they are nicely furnished and big schools, there really is nobody attending those schools. And in the schools that these children attend are empty, have no roofs, have no windows. Now, youth participation in government is saying that, we have identified this. And even if our government as an institution has not, we will personally take the responsibility and ensure that these people get into schools. Because government is not the institution, government is the people. Government is you and I saying that we are going to do what ought to be done, even if the institution is not doing it. That is how to participate in government. And when we do that, then it's a ripple effect. There will be a massive change. It's not just going to be better roads or better power supply. It's going to be a transformation of the very minds of Lagosians and Nigerians as a whole. So I think that is what's going to change when we begin to participate in government properly, so-called.
Okay, let's have the engineer to give us thoughts.
Brilliant talk, Alaudu.
What will change?
She said something. Okay. That was the fun part of what I was going to say here. Okay. The great Mahatma Gandhi. We all know that his famous quote: "Be the change that you want to see." And she said something. Now we're clamoring, speaking to government, speaking to leadership. Borrow the cue from that quote. You want to see a pothole, for instance, a route you ply every day. You want to see your local government chairman or somebody do it. I think one of the quickest way, like Prof said, one of the quickest way, you say you want to you want to criticize somebody. If you don't have a better solution, then that local government chairman will not listen to you. So for me, one of the things that I preach is be the change you want to see. You want to fix the road, you want the local government chairman to fix the road, the state governor to do X, Y, Z. From your own little space, in your own little way, at your own little corner, what would you be ready or willing to do? By the time you go and then you tell the local government chairman that this street in Bariga, it was my group, I rallied round, brought some people together, and then we poured sand and stone and all of that, and we're able to fill that little space. Now there's a bigger challenge which I know we cannot fix. And this is what we did. It will be very easy for us as youths to speak to that local government chairman, to speak to the House of Assembly, to even speak as far as the government and say, look at the little thing we did here. Now we want you to do this bigger one. So I want to chip in that in as much as we want to speak to leadership, in as much as we want leaders to all